I need to read the disclaimer real quick for it one more time. Apologize, guys. Hey, good morning, guys on YouTube for just joining us. Let me pop the disclaimer on there real quick. Past performance not indicative of future results. I'm sharing my trade plan with you in hopes that it makes you a better trader. Don't follow me blindly. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Trading derivatives carries substantial risk. You can lose all your capital. Please have a capital management plan in there. You can lose money very, very easily. If you'd like to read the entire disclaimer in its entirety, hit pause, and there you go. So let's get started. So what we're discussing, I forgot to start the meeting. What we're discussing right now, these are your two biggest deltas overnight. This is the red line is yesterday's high. You can see we've traded through it on both sides pretty easily overnight. These two deltas have to be treated as one. So if we come back up here, guys, off the open, so assuming we're pushing lower off the open, right? You have one of two ways to handle it. If you want to short and you don't mind shorting off the high, which I do, right? But let's go, for example, we open here. What I would suspect is that we're either going to get rejection anywhere from in here, but let's say I want to be super aggressive and short the 24-hour VWAP. I've got to allow my stop to come 2 ticks behind this bar right here, right? Or else I run the risk of just coming in, getting stopped, having it come up here, and then flushing, right? The other way to treat that is to wait for the second close. In other words, wait for the first close, let them punch it up again, and then short the second close of the backside test, or wait for intraday for a bigger order flow delta to come up. And you got to imagine that the first test into here that they're going to try to at least be responsive. So for my process, this no longer counts, but you still got to acknowledge that that bar is there, right? And then going back and looking at yesterday real quick, it's a secondary consideration. But if we look at coming late in the day yesterday, we had no, I don't want that box. I want this. We had this guy right here. Okay, if we highlight that box, wow, I am missing a tool here. That is not cool. Let's see something here. Window, control bar 1, window. There we go. So if you look to the overnight from that delta, right, you see that's what that's right where we backside tested into. Okay, so what this sets up is, first of all, for location. So if you think about this logically, right, from an order flow standpoint, this is yesterday's data, so a little bit discounted, but it still rules the roost. We weren't able, notice that we haven't been able to close underneath with a point of control underneath yet, underneath this guy, right? So that tells me immediately, without even looking at the profile, if I get a close underneath this guy, I want to attempt a backside test with a stop 2 ticks above. What does it require in order to get that? Not only do I have to get below the 29.40, I have to get underneath 29.37 with a close, backside test. So if we draw that out so that you can visualize what that might look like, right? So what that would look like is, first of all, we have to get underneath here. If you're uber aggressive, you're using these two areas to short against. Wow, that color's heinous, isn't it? Let's see if this is right. You're trying to get under here. All of that is heinous. There you go. But really, to get a roll lower, you have to get below this guy over here, right? Which means you're looking for a red bar. This is the point of control, that little yellow line. Close underneath, right? So let's pretend that's our bar. We want a backside test. We want to stop 2 ticks behind this guy right here, right? And then we're looking for continuation lower. That's what your short setup looks like. Now, the inverse is true the other side around. Peter and Brian, if you're in the room, I sent y'all copper, and John, I sent y'all a copper video. We've been coaching on it. If you look at it, it was just a review of yesterday's trade setups, and that really paid off last night in Asia and overnight. So coming back into this, right? Okay, push down, backside test, and that's what you need for the roll down. But the inverse is true. Until this guy goes, you can assume the first push into this location is going to get defended, right? And then what we're going to end up doing is having this whole ping pong match between these two guys, which were the biggest overnight, this guy over here. And so what I would like to see, since I'm not bullish on top, we already trended up. We'd be underneath prior day's low. For along, I'd like to see the biggest intraday delta form and then use that as a big backside test. And I prefer that biggest delta to form above this location. Okay. Or choice B, push all the way away from that, get a big delta to form down here, upside, use the half-half entry method. And then instead of my target being the high, my target's going to be back to this 39.38. And then if I think we can bust new highs, I'll leave trailers out. But either way, I either want to stretch away from this location for a push back in. If I'm aggressive and I think we're going to push higher, say to 29.50 is your goal, I want to look for a long in this area. Again, a stop, a tight stop right behind, 2 ticks to a point right behind here for the push up. And if we close underneath, backside test and push, and I will skip the short up here because I don't like shorting new all-time highs. And I certainly want to see it make an impulse move underneath prior day's low and then get underneath that biggest delta from the prior session in order to push lower. So I know that's a lot of stuff to put in, so I'm going to put it more succinctly so everyone understands. If you're uber aggressive and you get underneath 29.49.75, your backside test of this area is what you're looking for. Again, assuming we don't print another bigger delta pre-market. And by the way, everything is showing risk on that I'm showing. Okay, number one. Number two, for the bigger picture short, I need to get underneath this guy over here. I want to see a close on a red bar with a point of control underneath, backside test. And this is really important, guys, right? And I'm going to go to the profile in just a second. Let me clear this real quick. Okay, let's say we come down here. We do a quick backside test. I short it, and I get stopped right here for 2 points or 2.5, whatever the number is. And then we close a second time underneath. If I had to choose between the first close, the first close on the first time or the close on the second time, I would always choose the second close above or below. Yes, I will get chopped on occasion, but usually the bigger moves, right? So this is a great example here. So see, yesterday we closed above the biggest delta, right? I understand this is going to the end of the day, but picture if your day was like this over here. So this demonstrates pretty nicely what I'm trying to explain. Pointer. I'll plug my phone in before it runs out of juice. How am I doing on time? 8:15. We'll jump into the profile in a second. There's not much to look at. We're at new all-time highs, right? Okay. So let's say this is the picture you were looking at. And let's see if we can find an example from earlier in the day. Okay. So see yesterday how that 46.95 was the biggest delta? And then you go, okay, so hypothetically, this was our first close. As a matter of fact, I did take this trade. We closed above, and I didn't follow through the second time. We closed above. See that right there? On that bar right there, okay? It was by the smallest of margins. We closed above. Let's see, what did I do on this trade? Because I actually made money on this trade. I think I waited till the second time over here because I actually, oh, you know what? This is 8:30 in the morning. That's why. So I took this trade over here and got my 2 points, but then I got stopped on my trailer to the tick, right? But it demonstrates my point really validly. So let's follow through. Let's say I did take this long and it was all right for me to trade in the first 10 minutes. Technically, this was the first long above, and that trade stopped, right? And then you go, well, Simon, that trade stopped. Well, remember, I'm trading with a tight stop with 2 ticks right behind, and it stopped me. And I'm fine with that, right? If I had a larger stop, all it would have been a bigger loss, right? So then I come back up and I go, oh, we've closed up again. Half, which I did take this trade, by the way. Half. There's my 2 points to the upside, right? And I get paid, and I left my original stop in. Right, I left my original stop in. The trailer got stopped, and no big deal. Why was it no big deal? Even though I got stopped at the tick, I paid for most of my risk, and it gave me an opportunity. Which, since I can't predict what path the market will take, I can generally predict where it's going to attempt to go. I don't know what path it's going to take to get there. Right, so follow this process. Right, first time above, backside test, and you end up getting paid, right? Now, follow that. So this is the first half hour. We all know that the stop percentage increases within the first 30 minutes. Now, if you'll follow and pretend, let's now shift one more time. Pretend like this was the first close above. You got your 2 points and it stops. You go, oh, it stopped. Well, if you come right over here and you look and you go, oh, we've triggered again off that same delta. And remember, the context for the day yesterday was that we were in trend day up and the likely targets were to the upside, 20 to 25 points up, right? So if I execute my process once again, which is half here, half at the top of this bar, right? I get full size over here. Now watch how the rest of that day plays out to the right. Okay. I end up, and I did not do that, by the way, so I don't want to sound like a genius because I wasn't. I end up with a roll from 29.30, which would have been 29.31 would have been my average cost, and I would have ended up with a roll to 29.41. So you can argue that I get a B minus for yesterday because I executed my first trade poorly, but I should have gone a second time. Instead, I was trying to think, and my thinking got in the way of me making profits, right? So now go through the same process with this 5,000 delta. See how we go overnight, and we come back and we close above it for the first time. So let's say I did the same process, half, right? Half, stop. Just follow me. It's the end of the day. We wouldn't be taking this, but just follow me through the process, right? Now go to the right a little bit, and you go, oh, we've closed above again. Half, half, right? Half, half, and now I end up with an approximately 4 to 5 point trade to the upside, right? So if I had to delineate which trade I'd rather have, I would rather take the second close above than the first close above. That's not a panacea because that varies by market. Some markets you close above, you get the half-half. You don't even get the back. You only get the half part of it, and it takes off. So I just go with so if I just did follow my process yesterday, instead of having a shoulder shrug day and a down day in HG, I'd had a huge day in ES. I didn't follow process 100%, and what that ended up costing me was a big day. So rolling that over to today, right, and looking at that process, if I close underneath this guy over here, right, first close, I want to execute my half-half stop, but definitely I want to be able to do it on the second half of that leg. If we close underneath, again, half-half entry method, and then where am I going to logically look for a push back to the downside? So there's a couple of areas that I'm going to go do that, and I'm going to get off order flow and now go back to profile, right? So if we look at the profile, there we go. And these are the levels you want to have marked off for today. By the way, copper's just on fire overnight. They're just crushing the shorts on that thing. And I was long at the low last night while I was setting up charts, and I blew that out for $500 or $450 a contract because I got tired and I didn't want to leave a trailer on. It cost me that move from where I was long last night, which was right at 2.7. Where was I long last night? 2.7. 5.0, I believe, was my entry, and taking that off cost me. I took $500 and left $400 and left $1,200 on the table per contract with no heat. So that was brilliant, right? Okay, so hold on one second here. Value area high. You can see it's already marked off there. 293475. I color those purple just for easy memory. Value area low right there. Okay. Outside of order flow, just on the bigger picture thought for the day, you're going to have to get below 292650, right, to have any ability to have an extension to the downside. Usually day after trend day up, we end up with some form of balance, right? What's wrong? Hold on. I see what's going on. I'll fix it. One sec. Thank you, Randy. And because here, how about this? The price isn't right, but the profile should be right, I think. Let's see if it does this. Hold on a sec. File save. There we go. Here, let's adjust it. Good eyes, Randy. Thank you, sir. What in the world's going on with this computer? Okay, there we go. Close enough. There we go. There we are. Okay, let's say it again. 294025. That's what you have to get underneath to be back in value. Okay, so let's go through the process. Holding above, value area high. What do we look for, guys, right? Potential for a second trend day up, right? So the first question I'd have in my mind is not can we get below the low? Can I get back inside 2940 and a quarter? If I can, right? The natural target is going to be the volume point of control and the TPO point of control right there. So the target down is 36 and a quarter to 36. And that 36.75 to 36, I expect a sharp response first time in, but overall, if I look at that over a 30-minute period of time, I expect us to chop and rotate in here. As I do in here, I expect it to go back and forth, not straight through, back and forth, and the trades to be choppier in this area, more directional above and directional below. Yesterday's chart is repaired right here, which means that at 29.3175 to 29.3050, I would expect a response the first time in this area, the first time in, and the likely target that needs, and the other thing that I want to note, sorry, I'm being a little choppy here, is this right here. Okay, hole in the profile right there from 29.34 to 29.3275. The market generally wants to repair the holes in that profile. So potential reversal area, right? Potential reversal area, potential reversal area. And that makes all of this area, when you have all this stacked up like this, where you end up, this is going to range over a 6 or 7 point area. This whole area probably ends up being pretty choppy. I need to get underneath 29.3050 to make a clean extension back to the downside, right? And we are one timing to the upside on ES. I'm going to pull that up. See how we can't trade below the prior session low going back to the 17th, right? So overall, so what is this conditioning? The order flow is going to condition me for what I'm looking for in terms of moving higher or moving lower, right? But overall, right, overall in that picture, I know that I need to at least trade below prior day's low. And the odds are, right, odds are that once I trade underneath prior day's low, that'll stop the essentially the one timing on the day time frame to the upside. Once I trade below here, and usually what happens is we trade back up and close within this range. It's rare, though not impossible, to sweep the whole range, get underneath, and sweep down to the close. And then in between, important, roughly at the 50-60 of this gap, which is right there at 29.2250. I would expect responsive buyers at 29.2250. Not only that, but that would be a 22-point stretch from where we're currently trading. And then again, this would be, if we get this, this would be a money location. We break the low, panic everyone out into 22.50, get back about 26 and a quarter, and then we close somewhere back up in this neighborhood. A 10-point rotation off of 22.50 would put you right back into value area low at 32.50. It makes sense. So before we open, one more time on the checklist so you have it. Very difficult to have a short if you don't, and have that short work for anything more than a scalp if you don't get below 29.40 and a quarter. Between 29.40 and a quarter to 29.31 and 3/4, it's going to be very hard to get a straight line in either direction through there. Expect back and forth. Be ready to scale heavier on your initial scale, right? And leave your trailers into 29.3175 to 29.3075. The chart has to be repaired here at 34, so expect chop in this area. 29.31 to 29.30 is support and repairs the chart from yesterday, right? So make sure you look for a trap back into value area low. If we establish underneath, trap back in, push to the other end of the range for a balanced day is certainly possible. And if we get down to test the low, your highest odds location come from 29.2250. You're then looking for a trap back into yesterday's low at 26.25 for a close back into this value area low at the end of the day. And if everything blows up, you finally have Dalton's gap fill there at 29.1875. I seriously doubt we get there, but if we do, I'd expect responsive buyers there, and then I'll address that lower area if we get into it during the day. Doesn't seem like it's really an issue at this point. So both NQ and ES are pushing up towards their Globex highs. From what I can tell, let me look at my DOMs real quick. And yes, I'm burning the first 30 minutes. One last piece, and it's an important piece. We have a $2.7 trillion rollover that has to be, portfolio adjustment that has to be made today. Let me see if I have that correct. 2.7 trillion that's being affected by the tech, and a large part of that is Google, I think, is being removed from the S&P 500. Okay, that has to be done today. You saw how they got the market really quiet yesterday. They do that intentionally because they have to settle down so they can cross those trades for the institutions without very much risk or no risk at all. Be acutely aware that's hanging out there, right? And it may affect the price action. Also be aware, yesterday was really tight, right? It was grind up, it was up, but it was really, really tight, right? If that, once they get the bulk of that transaction done, look for the range to expand again, okay? Once they get that settled down, it could change the price action dramatically. Just have eyes on it. Be ready to look for it. I don't have anything to add on copper besides its trend day up. I would look for a reliable rotation down, unless you're just uber aggressive on the short and you're good there. It's trend up. I'd leave it alone. And on NQ, I did post that chart last night. It's worth looking at this really quickly. Let me make sure I have the right chart up on this. So I'm not nuts. ESZ18, I do. Okay, let me pull this chart in really fast again. I'm not trading the open, so they can do whatever they want. Why don't I have more of this up? Hold on a second. Oh, I see what's going on here. Here we go. Nope. This chart should go way further back. Hold on a second here. I'm not going to download more days, but here I've got another way of doing this without disrupting the chart. Here we go. I bet I had my join me off, so I'll fix that. Okay, 1 second, I'll have that meeting, and I can share my other computer. There we go. Okay. And that, by the way, just so you know, is what copper did overnight. That is a stupid move. Look at that. Perfect. Let's see, where were we? 920. Perfect backside test. That's value area high right there. And that's where I'm long, right in here. And you can see, look at that, 463, close above and bye-bye. No heat, nothing. Perfect trade. Okay, let's get this up. Trade station. There we go. Why am I having a hard time grabbing this? Okay. Here's where NQ is, right? See this? So that's a big time frame. All poorly auctioned. All needs to get retested. See those closes that were untested? Here, I'll draw them out for you. Untested close. Untested close. right? All-time high. ES is already pushing highs. NQ catches up. This isn't that big a stretch, guys. This is 100 points up on the day. It can be done. Okay, 76.12 to 77.23. That is achievable, right? I'm not saying it will do it. I'm just saying it could do it. This is a pretty good base off the low. Look, you're making higher lows all the way through here on this base, right? Here, I'll draw it out. See that? It's just a clear higher low process there, right? And you can see that wedge is starting to form to the upside, right? So that would roughly, it's not a very pretty channel, but that's the channel, right? But that's a pretty bullish formation off the bottom, if you ask me. I like that pattern, but NQ has a long way to go. So I'll grant you it could fail. And then the other thing I'd look for here, there's a swing low, there's a swing high. That puts your mid right here, right into the gap fill of this gap, right? So even if we do get weak, look for that 75.27 to 7,500. If I were an institution, I'd be hunting that thing and begging for it to get back over here, right? So at any rate, I think NQ looks pretty good. I'm definitely not bearish on it, right? I'll short it intraday. I have no issue with that in terms of scalp because it's so volatile. But that location down there at 75.27, if we fill that gap, and you certainly have to be aware of the half gap in front of that, which is probably sitting roughly right here. You know what? I can't take the phone call right now, buddy. So I will talk to you a little bit later. When my long guy calls at the open, that's not a good sign. Okay. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on it. There's room to the upside. You got to get back underneath yesterday's low. There's the 75.84 is the swing low from yesterday. It's an easy visual location. They couldn't get back below after the initial run up. Below 75.84, you probably have a profit taking and a re-auctioning to this area. Dalton's gap fill is actually here at 75.45. So I take it back. The half gap is actually right in the middle of that. And this is the gap fill right here. So this actually isn't accurate. Let me remove that. Okay. This is actually the half gap is sitting right in the middle of that. Right. So yesterday's low, prior day's high. That's Dalton's gap fill. That's the half gap. It's all tiny. It would not shock me to see a response out of that area. Just come back and re-auction this. And then you have the old current area where that was the old swing high right there. You notice that we got above, we backside tested, and we pushed. So a lot to look at in that area. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. And then going out the 5-minute chart, guys, which y'all should have up on your own screens, right? You know you got to get underneath that 5-minute first bar to have any kind of down day, right? So let the market come to you. Take your time. That's it. One second. Okay. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. Everything's on a rip in terms of risk on and strength. So that's copper. You see it's still ripping. This is coming up to an old value area low. You see it rejected the last time. That's usually a good area to look for a trade in that area. I'd want to see it get back underneath that 28,190. That's the old swing for a profit taking rotation down. Let's see if I have anything else to add for the day. Really, I don't. Just let's see where we are on the big deltas here real quick. So we have a new superstar pre-market or at the open. So that helps the picture a little bit. Okay. Right click. Erase drawing. There's your new superstar. You got to get underneath. I'm going to do something with this computer this weekend. It's just not. You got to get a red bar with a point of control underneath 2943.75. Again, this becomes your new kingmaker right there underneath. Look for a push under and then a roll to the downside. Give me just 1 second. I need to get my other dome up and running. There we are. I got to do the work on NQ really quick. Give me 1 second. 830. Where are my big deltas? Hold on a second here. Looks like 449 on top, and we're pushing up on that. So your resistance now is at 76.36 on NQ. Again, I'd like to see it push in and underneath and actually get a big rotation down before deciding to be a superhero on that particular product. Right? Everyone wants to buy it. And again, there's a lot of crosswinds. I'd let them settle down personally before I jumped in on NQ or anything else. Let them get below. And I got to tell you, this is the first close above, right? Against the first 8 a.m. We still failed to close above this, right? So keep that in mind. Hold on 1 second here. Okay. We failed to close above or below since the open, right? Close underneath here, backside half, half, push in. If you're super aggressive, if you're not super aggressive, I would wait till we get back inside yesterday's low. I understand that by the time that happens, it may be already quite the fat rotation at that point. What are you going to do, right? It is what it is. So that's my 2 cents. And I don't feel like I'm in any kind of obligation or rush to do anything here one way or the other. It's just too hard when we're above prior day's high and we're trending as we are, right? Obviously, I think we could do some profit taking, and I think probably people are pretty optimistic buying off the open. That does not mean it's a good short, right? So we'll see where it goes from there. Any questions? I think I laid out the process pretty cleanly there. We should have some opportunities today. It shouldn't be overly difficult. And we all stare at each other, going, what are we going to do? Remember the most important thing you can do today, the most important thing you can do today, stay on process all day. Do not stop staying on process. Ask yourself on every entry, okay, is this the entry exit stop that I want and that I've practiced so diligently, or am I guessing on my process, right? That's what you want to know. Am I guessing on process, or do I actually have this correct? Certainly what I'm asking. Pretty muted so far. Pretty sure we have econ at the top of the hour. That's why we're just chopping here. Actually, nothing. 8:45 flash services PMI. That comes up. That just passed. We don't have anything left after that. So we'll see what they do. Again, I think all that's. I'm going to kill the lights now. There we go. Easier to see. Keep glasses on. Both markets, just to keep your check marks on, both above yesterday's high. No significant rotations lower yet, right? They both still have work to do. So neither one's falling apart. Neither one's closed below the key deltas or above, for that matter. We need a green bar with a point of control above or a red bar with a point of control below. Enki's trying, hasn't done it yet. Guys, any comments from the room? Any thought processes that I might have missed? I see I have a message here. John, I'll check in a minute. Let it slow down. Will you please remind me again at noon if you didn't get it? I should have sent it on Skype, but maybe I made a mistake. Give me a second. I'll send it over to you. Here. I think he's trying a downside move, new lows on the day. And it's now closed underneath its biggest delta pre-market for the first time. So backside test, your resistance right now would be 76.26 quarter to 76.31. You'd want to have a stop at the high if you took that trade. Wow, and it just took a beautiful rotation and smoked people who did not have the patience. Now we're testing back down to that 76.08, 7600, which was the location I had for long last night. And it was also the swing low early this morning, and they got a responsive buyer out of that area. If we get the point of control underneath on ES, guys on YouTube, the focus is mainly on ES. Remember, you're going to have to contend with the noise at VWAP as well. We don't have a larger delta than this since the open. Here's the opening delineation line, or really. So again, that noise is very common at that point. I keep saying to myself, whatever's going on, it's the first half hour. But again, to be clear, process, 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 half, half. And does a trade make sense from a profile standpoint, right? I still know, right? This is the most important. I got to get below yesterday's high to have a profit taking, right? No one's in danger. Anyone who bought up to here right now, think about it psychologically. Do you feel like, oh my God, I got to get out of the trade if you're long from yesterday? Or do you go, hey, we're above yesterday's high? Worst case scenario, I know if I'm long, and let's say I was terrible and I just executed right here at the high of the day, right, in Asia, and I'm looking right now, I go, well, as long as I don't get underneath 29.40.75, I really have no motivation to jump back on that trade, right? I'm pretty cool. Same thing on NQ. Yeah, it's come down, but it's just come back to backside test yesterday's high. Is that really a reason for me to panic? Probably not, right? So let it set up on both markets. And then also notice again, here, look at the 5 minutes. So I can show this to y'all easily. Okay, I don't have a long setup because I'm not above my biggest delta. But look at the 5 minute chart. There you go. Look at the 5 minute chart. Like, does that say, oh my gosh, or does that say, oh, we're pretty cool? Like, obviously locals are in charge, right? On NQ, first backside test, they tagged that 76.12 for a long, right? So we have to get underneath. We have to close. We came in, got underneath, closed the gap, right? This tells you it's all retail so far this morning. And then what we really want to find out is, was this entire move generated by that rebalancing, right? Which means when the rebalancing is gone, it all comes back the other way. It's possible, right? And what will we know to have that clue? First of all, we'll close underneath the first 5 minute bar in NQ. We'll close underneath the first 5 minute bar in ES. Clue one, we'll be underneath prior day's low. These check marks keep you from getting emotional about getting a move or missing a move. There's no such thing, number one, right? But number two, and I'm speaking specifically to my guys in my room, right? Stay on point with what the process is, right? So we still haven't had a close underneath with a point of control underneath. Has not happened. We have to get underneath this guy. If we get underneath this guy, you've got to consider whether you want to short at highs, right? And so if you don't know the answer to that, right, what you want to do is write down at new all-time highs. I get underneath my biggest delta. I get my close underneath and it sets up perfectly. Does my half with the stop above? What is the percentage of time that works, right? Because this context will change outside of the highs, right? If we weren't at all-time highs and we get this right here, I'm on it. There's not even a question for me. That's an easy layup for me. I will take the loss every time on that short, no question. At the highs, right above prior day's high where I know I'm likely to get a responsive buy. No, I want my short setups to come in underneath this high. I might miss the very peak, but who cares? It'll sure save me a lot of heartache, right, from trying to guess the wrong way, certainly. I'm going to move this over. Make that small. let's do this. Make my copper a little bit smaller. Make this chart a bit tinier. Okay. And NQ is ES is a big fat open auction, no direction trade. That's exactly what that is. Doesn't matter the time frame you look on it. Look at it on. I need to get underneath that guy. And remember, 76 to 76.10 yesterday was a beast. They defended it viciously in NQ all day. It wasn't until Asia that we could get above it on NQ, right? So getting below 7,600 is really, really important. If you don't see what I'm talking about, go pull the chart on it. It was really a big area. NQ below Thursday's high now, by the way, into that 7 and below 77. Nope, not below 7,600 yet. Sorry. Just in that 76.10 area. John, please check Skype for that video. By the way, copper's forming a tombstone doji on a big range bar. If you look at it on top here, for my copper traders, if that bar forms and we close underneath, that could be a really powerful topping formation right there on that particular time frame. That's the larger time frame, right? So obviously it has to get underneath this old value area, but you see we're going through this consolidation. If we can break underneath, you trap all these late buyers for push back in. That would make sense for as much as we've extended, maybe back to 2.8190. Okay, so at any rate, heads up on the copper. If y'all are looking at it, I'm watching it closely for a setup. And then the 76.10 to 76.12 was Chop City yesterday. You can look in the chart. You can see it all day long through there, right? And now, oh, okay, by the way, for my aggressive shorts, first bar that closed below, I'm not shorting it, right? I do not want to be involved in shorting above the high. Half, but you can still keep track of the trade, right? Half. That would put your average at 29. Let's see what the numbers are here. So that would have been an entry at 29.4275 plus 29.4375. So let's just call it 29.43 quarter is your average. Your stop on that is 29.4575. So 43 and a quarter to 45 and a quarter would be 2. So 2.5 points of risk. If you're aggressive on the short, where's your target? You're going to have to get below 29.40. It's really that 29.39, 29.38. I'm not taking the short. I want to be totally clear so that no one's confused. I'm not taking that short. It's at all-time highs. I don't like shorting all-time highs. It's a rough, brutal way to make a living and can be very, very frustrating. Yes, the pays are glorious when it just rips down, but it's not my flavor. So I'm passing. I'm hoping for a rotation down and a setup after. Either I want short setups inside that 29.4075 or long setups from rotations down. Okay, so that's a difference there between, hey, I'm set up for potential short, right? I'm set up for potential short, and I am shorting because of X. I am not shorting, right? I want to be perfectly clear. I'm going to let the market do what it needs to do, but I am not shorting, right? I'll let them go through it and figure it out, and then I'll work from there. And that, by the way, that bar has not set up on copper, right? Has not set up on copper. And that's exactly why you wait for the bar to print before you go take it, right? So see what did look really beautiful now just turned out to be a stop run, right? So keep that in mind. And by the way, a close above this guy probably sets us off on potential second trend day, right? So there's just nothing for me to do here. I'll just wait it out. If you feel like you're missing something, let me give you every assurance in the world you're not, right? This is just Chop City. There's really nothing to be done here. Copper's in beast mode. All there is to it. So the range is roughly 4 points, right? Nothing to do, right? No rotation, very little counter rotation. We're just hugging VWAP. Just let it be, right? It'll eventually settle itself out. Oh, someone just offered 119 contracts on copper, and they took all of it and blew past him like he wasn't even there. That's freaking wow. It's a lot of contracts on copper. New highs coming up again. I had the low of that move last night. It's a monster move. There goes. So there's your 1-1, and there's your 2 points if anyone took it. You finally got it. We're now underneath 7,600 on NQ. That opens this up for potential move to the downside, right below that 7,600. Does everyone see how? Did anyone take that in the room? That was a perfect setup, guys. If I had just not had come at all-time highs, like I said, I'm more than happy to take that trade. Probably will work a 7,600 to 7,610 short and NQ on the backside test. I'll probably do half at 7,600, the other half at 7,610, and stop the whole thing at 7,615. Just FYI. Actually, I will. That's exactly what I will do if I can get the backside test. There's a lot of ifs on that. And I'm going to have to see copper make some kind of impulse move down or sellers actually show up. A single commodity product that goes in a straight line, it's been in a bear market for a while. The face rippers can be horrifying. Okay. So I'm not willing to short straight up. Right. Yet the long set up perfectly. I'm not willing to take the stops on the way up. Just too hard. It was a perfect setup for a long last night. I didn't take it. I took it. I just didn't keep it. So there's no point in me going back and trying to make that work, is what I'm trying to say. NQ hasn't given me that backside to 7,600 yet. So that's fine. This 80 to 7,600 was the old range yesterday. So I'll just wait on it. Copper at a minimum has to get below, as of right now, at a minimum. We want to see it below 2.8510 before considering the short on it. That's to keep you safe from getting annihilated if the market continues to just melt up, right? Wish I had that long. That opportunity doesn't come along too often to get a move like that. Let's see what we have here delta wise. This still rules the roost intraday. The same thing up here. Nothing's replaced it yet. So again, we know we had responsive buyers here overnight at 6 a.m. So I'd expect this area, right? It's not very hard to go, oh, look, we responded here. So you got to expect that they're going to try and counter, right? Back underneath. This was our line where we had to get underneath. Now I need the order flow to set up to give me a good trade entry, either short or long. It doesn't matter to me which one it is. I just need one or the other. Again, potential tombstone doji setting up on the larger time frame on copper. Be aware. I can often lead to big counter rotations down. They're not always easy. You got okay, great, Randy. Nice job. You took it for 2. You shorted 44 and covered all at 42. Nice job. I think that's a great job. And you followed your process exactly. That's fantastic. We are at 2.85. That's the first hurdle to get underneath for copper. From a small range chart and from a big range chart, it has to get underneath that and hold underneath that. So I would expect that to get defended the first time. And again, straight up can come straight down, but I'm not adventurous enough to find out about that. The pain, I can't take the pain. And we had massive momentum divergence all the way up into that, but I'll see if it sets up. If it closes underneath this 2.85, 85 or 2.86 on a backside test, if you're aggressive, that's an okay place to take a short. Stops against the high. You're looking for it to roll back down on copper, and NQ is just straight liquidating. They're not giving me any shot at that 7,600 yet. We'll see on the after if they come back up against it. So now you have here, I'll flash you a picture of this on the copper. Okay, see that? We came up, we're forming this tombstone doji. It's yet to form. That's the range bar predictor. It's got to get underneath this level first. You close underneath the 178. Over here, that was the last strongest delta. Now it needs to hold on the backside test of this. So if you're aggressive, your short's against the 178. See all the momentum divergence we had going in the high? The deltas actually switched negative as we were pushing the highs, right? So if you can hold against this and this bar can form, really what you want your stop is entry, stop, and be willing to take it 2 times. And then you have a potential for a nice fat roll to the downside. Okay, so that's a good start. Right now, you got to see if it actually comes through. And you can see once they got underneath that guy, see how they immediately long liquidated. Right. So I'll be willing to, I'll take a 6 tick risk here, and I'm willing to take it 2 times. If I can get back on the backside test, this 2.851, I'll take a short here. It'll be 6 ticks a stop, and I'm going to take it 2 times. Right. So that's about $75 per pop, right, per contract. Okay. I'll tell you when I take it. That just had massive divergence into the high. Now we got to see if they follow through with profit taking on it. And you've got your shooting star right on top, guys. So I'm already laying in at 2.8510 for the short. Okay, and my stop will be 2.8540, and I'm willing to take that trade 2 times. So that is 6 ticks of stop. That's roughly $75 per contract. Plus, and you got to give a little bit of room for a stop run on that. Okay, so calculate $100 of loss on that trade if it pops you, right? Was how I would handle that. And if you're more adventurous, okay, so if you're mega aggressive, the other way to set this up, guys, again, for the guys I'm coaching on this is the other way to set this up, right? If we look at this really quickly, you'll see on the large scale there, when we get this, I'm going to show you from places before. You see when you get the shooting star up there, the way to really set this up is fewer contracts, right? Fewer contracts, closes underneath, and just use the whole bar. So this is 20 ticks. So the stop on that will be 20 times 12, $250, I think. Is that right? 20 times 12. 10 is 125, 250. So it's 250 a car. You don't want to see it tick above, and you still have to be willing to take it 2 times. So fewer contracts, but the roll's fat on that, right? If you look at the roll down from that, right, and you can see it was driving straight down. See how it didn't form? Shooting star all the way up until right here. But look at the backside roll down once you got that, was just enormous. This is, if you shorted up here, same risk, right? So your risk was 250, but you paid 10 to 1 on your RR, right? That's a good trade. Now you had to be patient with it and you had to let it roll down. And if you look, what it had to break underneath when we were coming up, it had to break this 601. So see how you had to take this, then your next stage was you had to break this, backside test, and notice that to get the payout, you actually had to let it roll all the way through to the next day, right? It wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy hold. You had to have some concept of where it might go. So that's an example. You have much the same picture here. Now you just have to hope that it actually does what you think it could possibly do. And that's my 2 cents on that. Okay, so everyone knows where I'll be short if they give me a chance on the backside test of that. If not, I'll look for another entry somewhere through the course of the day. That was pretty cruel on the roll down there. Really can cause some people pain when they get that thing wrong. So, and same thing on NQ. I just had no chance to get short on that. Right, same setup worked this morning on the short side. We had the biggest delta on top, rolled out. This was a consolidation. You see I had it marked. First close underneath, long liquidation. I am targeting that for a short up top, or looking for my biggest delta below to give me a long setup to come back and retest this, or some type of setup to the downside. You can see the momentum is really opened up here on the downside on NQ. And you know what? If I don't get a fill, I can care less. All I care about is hunting down my best trade opportunities. Right. So I knew what I wanted to do. I wasn't willing to short on top. I got a picture of what I was looking for, and now I'm looking for the new biggest delta to give me a new trade setup. $1,000 delta divergence, guys. 1911 delta divergence. 1,000 delta close above. That'll be half stop for me on the long side. Target back to VWAP. Okay. So please be aware. Heads up on that. That is a big fat delta divergence. If you are right, just taking the stop there, that is a fat delta divergence. I'll wait for the process to play out. Half. You're targeting back to this guy right here, 29.43.75. Again, the range isn't very wide, right? So if you're aggressive, you're just taking the close of this bar for the push back in. I'll wait for the 1,000 delta. And then because the range is so narrow, you may want to wait for the backside tap for the push back up once that forms, right? So then they squeeze those guys out, and now they're dropping them right on their head in copper. It's pretty funny. Not funny, haha, but it's funny. Yeah. This setup in a big range is so money, right? If we get like a 15, 20 point extension down, you get this setup. this is fantastic for a roll back up. Like if this was 10 points away, this would be a golden entry. Again, at 7,600 to 7,610, I am willing to work a setup to the short side. I'm looking for a particular bar to form in there, but I will start small at 7,600, and then I'll wait till I see my actual setup. But that's the biggest delta on that roll down. There's a negative 533 there. It's not giant, but it's good enough, and it was consistent support overnight. You should have people that try to buy that for the push back up that should be trapped at that location. Backside test of yesterday's high on ES. Again, you want that green up bar with a 1,000 delta to confirm the push. And remember you want to go in your scale. When you have this stuff right around you, you're going to get a lot of noise both ways, right? You're going to have local traders trading off this, and you got to be willing to give it the room to work around that area. There's your 2,000 delta. So normally my entry would be here, half, right? And then push up into this location. I'm actually going to try the long. I'm going to try for the backside test right here for a long because I don't have enough room to the upside, right? So again, sometimes trades set up perfectly. Sometimes they don't. This was a all-time high. I don't like shorting all-time highs. That's my own rules. I don't like going long 1 point in front of VWAP because I know that there's likely responsive sellers there, right? So these setups stretched far away from VWAP, I love. Right near VWAP, I'm not so enamored with them, right? And that's just my personal trading style. The setups probably work just the same, just as effectively. I'm not willing to put on size right here to try to grab maybe 1 point before I run into a bunch of noise, the same noise we got over here. I don't want to deal with noise. I want to get away from these so I have a clear target up or a clear target down. Okay, but that setup from an educational standpoint, that is fantastic. When you get that, that is prime order flow. Also, it tells you that locals are still in charge. Why? We're coming down to Globex low. They're buying into the V of Globex low. Institutions don't operate or think that way. Okay, they just don't. Right? They're not. Most people are misconstrue that don't know what institutional traders, like if you meet a guy who goes, oh, I'm a trader for a mutual fund, or I'm a trader for a hedge fund. Okay, at most hedge funds and most mutual funds, you have the PM, portfolio manager, right? And he's looking at his portfolio. He's balancing his risk, and he's looking at his mandate. So let's say it's a PM that is at Fidelity, and it's the S&P 500, right? All he's doing is looking at his inflows at the end of the week or the end of the month or end of the quarter, whatever his mandate is for his business model, right? He's looking at his inflows, right? And he's going, okay, this is my inflow. This is my exposure. This is how much I need. So then he'll go, okay, I need, if it's Fidelity, 400 million to balance my portfolio. He's going to call down to his trader and he's going to go, give me 400 million, right? And that guy's going to get paid based on how well he does close to the average price, right? And he's going to work that order. He's not trading for profit, right? He's trading for consistency and order fill. That is it, right? That's all he cares about. Now, take a trader at a hedge fund like SAC Capital. He's trading for profit and he's looking at it. But I promise you, that guy at SAC Capital doesn't go, oh, that's the value, that's the valley. I'm going to buy into the valley and push it back into VWAP. He's looking for key areas where he can move a lot of capital. You should be doing the same. I'm begging for that 7,600 to get tested at this point on NQ. Anyways, I'll let this run till 10 o'clock for guys that are on YouTube. Then I'm going to cut it off. If you'd like to visit us in the room, just send me an email. Give you a couple days pass. It's tradertough@gmail.com. There's no strings attached. Just don't follow me blindly, right? Take what I know, apply it to your own trading, and follow your own process. There was the backside test, by the way. Backside test. Now you should be able to get a push to 42. And I hate the noise in this particular area. And I'm stalking 7600, 7610 on NQ. So I'm hoping that ES pushes that 2942. Be great. Can't do it. That's what I mean by the noise at one location. Awful PA. Unable on that 8600. Man, we have a possibility of a mirror image move from yesterday, guys. But this whole move was mirror. If it was all up because of the rebalancing, and the balancing gets done, all that steam could come right out and push it lower. By the way, if you stare at monitors all day, I know I look a little weird with the yellow glasses on, but if you stare at monitors all day long, there's a ton of radiation that comes off of those on your eyes. It's really brutally hard. I highly suggest protecting your eyes with any kind of decent yellow tint glasses. These are $7 at Walmart. I have a stack of them because I break them all the time. Not by throwing them, they're cheap, right? But I lose them or misplace them, so I stopped buying the expensive ones and bought the cheap ones. But the net effect is pretty big difference, and it keeps your eyes from just being annihilated, right? So now we have the biggest delta on top of this move on copper here, guys. Okay, that's 662 right here. Shooting star, 662 roll down. So my biggest delta on the smaller range is over. If I can get a push up into this area in general, right? Possibly this right here, that 2.84 area, all the way up. Right, I'm looking for a setup from 2.845 to 2.8545. This area right here, this penny, basically, to get short for a push back to the downside, hoping that they'll come back in, that they'll come back into it a little bit. They may not, right? They could hypothetically just roll it. I don't think they will. So hoping that we push back up into this area. And then if you're playing bigger picture, you want your stop behind the 298, right? But I'll use that 2.845 area for my entry, okay, to the short side. I've been waiting pretty patiently to get that set up. And boy, didn't we spot that right off the top. This little rip, by the way, that's worth about $500 to $800 a contract if you got it right. So maybe less. Let's see. If you nailed it from here to here, $387 a contract. Not too shabby. And the cool thing is you really didn't have to guess on it, right? You could just let it set up for you. I'll still take 7,600 if they'll push it up there on NQ, but boy, do we have a challenge getting that to work. Again, if you took the top here of this, you weren't able to achieve your 2 points. You came within a tick, right? Make sure you know in your process how you're going to handle that. I didn't take this because I just thought there was too much noise in here, just like I didn't like the high above. But this setup right here, you push us 10 points away from this. I'll take that here for a push in here, and that's usually an easy trade. Again, it really looks like the same PA from yesterday, just flipped, you know. So we'll see what they do. Your stop's still safe if you took the long. You haven't gotten tagged yet, but the PA sure does suck. Oh, here comes that 2.845, right, where I said it was underneath. I'll start fading against that 2.845 if it can get up there. Right, it's an entire penny is valid trade location. Keep that in mind on copper. We just lost all the juice to the upside. Like everything they had yesterday, they're just flipping it on its head. It's a slow motion roll. And guys on YouTube, it's pretty much 10 o'clock, so I'm going to drop off here. I hope y'all learned a little bit. Learn order flow, learn support resistance levels, and have a set process for your entry, exits, and stops. if you're trying to day trade, don't believe it's easy. It's just not, right? And have your process hammered down and cleared out, and let it come to you. That would be my suggestion. Anyways, I'm going to jump off. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I will be back next week. Thanks, guys.